Growing up is one of the most difficult things a person can go through. That fundamental insecurity about one's place in the world, coupled with the expectations placed upon oneself by others, by one's peers and friends, by the society around them, by one's family and parents, by the societal institutions, etc., etc. How insane is it for us to place the weight of society and the world upon our kids' shoulders? How ridiculous our society is to push these standards of success, quote unquote, upon the young, not letting them forge their own path in life. How utterly foolish we are to present these traditional paths, these institutions, as the only ones, whilst selling them dreams of lives that never corresponded to reality to begin with in the first place. How silly it is to push children down certain trajectories, to force them and mold them in other ways, and have them decide the fate of their lives all whilst they are still developing and before they've really figured out their place in the world. What a folly our society is, and what an utter sham our institutions are. Growing up, there was such unhealthy pressure to do well in school, to get good grades and get into university. This bordered on outright obsession, unhealthy obsession or unhealthy obsessive behavior, and really was or continues to be an epidemic that engulfs all of the globe. Instead of letting our children experience life, letting them follow their passions, and letting them understand and try to engage with reality as it is, instead we have forced them to follow these supposedly traditional paths of success. Judging by what I have seen, this is way less of a problem in the West than it is in other nations, such as in Southeast and East Asia. Yet the societal pressures placed upon one to conform to these traditional paths are incredibly foolish, but not only that, they also prevent and hold back people from reaching their true potential, in fact. The false promises given to youngsters, not truly preparing them for the realities of working life and of adult and family life, are painfully criminal and are crimes against our youngsters who are seeking to understand their place in this world. It is pretty obvious that society places heavy pressure to maintain these institutions for their own sake, and yet it becomes painfully obvious that not so many are happy with the current arrangement. Why then? Why should we accept any of this? For example, we can talk about the institutions of learning, of school. Learning is without a doubt important, and I have dedicated this channel to the art of learning the humanities. Yet, it is obvious that schools and universities in most cases don't inculcate a passion for learning in the young, nor the natural human curiosity to seek knowledge, truth, or understanding the world, but rather it is simply for the sake of gaining financial compensation or rewards. Does anybody honestly remember what they learned in school? Was it approached out of genuine curiosity, or simply to discharge one's obligations and to gain some supposed lucrative financial career in the future? Sadly, for me at least, genuine learning and genuine curiosity to learn has always come from outside the school system or from educational institutions. Most of what I have learned has come from reading books, watching videos, doing courses, etc., etc. In other words, from my own passion to learn, but never from actually studying in school. And honestly, I don't care much for most of what school taught me, but I can feel, even now, incredible feelings of resentment. Perhaps these are just the petty emotional ramblings of another youngster, but don't our emotions matter too? I can't begin to even point out or count on my fingers, which, aren't even sufficient to count it up, the amount of times I was made to feel so many countless times as if I had failed, as if I was a failure, as if, my self-esteem or my self-confidence should take a hit, merely for not doing quote-unquote as well as I could have. I was made to feel quite horrible, degraded, at school because, I just couldn't care less, or, for example, if I wasn't doing as well as I could have perhaps. And it always felt as if my genuine passion for learning, my genuine desire to learn and to seek knowledge was always actually held back by the school system, and it always felt as if rather than facilitating the things I was genuinely passionate about, it was actually a source of holding me back and preventing me from studying those things that I wanted to actually study. For example, during high school, I did quite well in the humanities, but eventually my STEM grades were quite average, even though initially I was better at the STEM subjects than I was at the humanities. And I was made to feel like a failure for not doing well in the STEM subjects, even though quite clearly my strength lied within the humanities. And then during A-levels, I was forced to take STEM subjects, even though I quite clearly was very good at the humanities, simply for the fact that, the STEM subjects might offer me supposedly lucrative careers. And this then points out the obvious truth that the school system is not there to inculcate or to generate a genuine passion for learning within youngsters. It's not there to facilitate one's genuine curiosities or one's passions and to allow people to reach greater and greater heights of greatness based on those passions and to overcome their weaknesses, but rather it is merely to create these workers. It is to create people who chase after money and lucrative careers rather than inculcating a genuine passion for learning within them. And the fact that the whole of the society lies to itself about what they really are gaining from this versus what their true intentions are with it is quite shocking. And the fact that we lie to our children about this constantly is a great crime against them in reality. Now, of course, it's not just that the institutions themselves are bad. Of course, part of this was my own fault, part of this was my own responsibility, as I definitely didn't do as well as I could have, and I definitely didn't work as hard as I could have. And of course, there were personal things going on at the time, like because I wasn't perhaps fully developed in my looks, I had this kind of scruffy look, I was picked on in school quite a lot, and so my experience of school could be quite negative. However, that's just one side of the picture. On the other hand, I made countless friends and, we created memories that will last for a lifetime, and I'll always look back on those good memories with fondness, just as I will look back on those bad memories with resentment. And of course, the teachers, many of them can pick on you and many of them can be quite annoying. And unfortunately, some teachers can just outright bully their children, the children that they are teaching even. Many teachers are incredibly kind, and if anything, most teachers want to help their students out. I can think back to some teachers who were very helpful and had a great influence on me and who inspired me quite a lot. For example, my English teacher, a few of my science teachers, they were great role models in their own right, and they were very kind to me. And I would probably go back and apologize to them for not doing as well as I could have. And so, of course, part of this is my own responsibility, and at times as youngsters, we need to come to terms with the fact that we are in charge of breaking the cycle. Otherwise, the same mistakes and the same history will be repeated over and over again. However, at the same time, it's like I've said, I cannot help but feel incredible resentment to the institutions who, created the conditions for this kind of hellish, almost unbearable lifestyle that I was put through, and then constantly lied about what the true purpose of those institutions were. Because like I said, quite frankly, if we want to talk about genuine learning, I did way more of that outside of the school system by myself than I did within school. And if anything, school was a distraction and a waste of time for what I could have truly been pursuing anyways. And it gets to a point where the whole of the society, where your parents, your family, your friends, everybody around you shames you or makes fun of you if you don't pursue those things or you don't attain some degree of success within those institutions. But the matter of the fact is we don't have to play by those rules. We don't have to constantly seek these supposed standards of success. The true success, perhaps, is to raise children, raise youngsters who do not feel that their self-worth is attached to external things, who seek greatness out of a genuine passion and desire, not merely to prove something to others, who understand that being and existence in and of themselves are valuable, and constantly chasing after things externally or within certain institutions is not going to give them happiness in the long run. After all, if one desires to seek truth, to seek to understand the world, then that will never be found within institutions. For truth is not to be found within institutions. It is to be found within the constant and genuine search of it, whether or not it alienates the society or not, or whether or not it conforms to the societal institutions or not.